Hello everybody, here we are in another round, in another expedition to discover interesting and fascinating music, and also to ask the question, what do you think? This band this time is rather special to me, and certainly probably my all-time favorite band, and I'm talking about Dead Can Dance. This is their third album, or fourth if you count one EP, and came out in 1987. When I discovered this record, it was 1989, and it's one of the few moments when I exactly remember how it happened and where it happened, and it was certainly one of those moments when I just bought this record in a record store in Munich, brought it home, and I bought it basically out of instinct. I looked at the cover, I saw all these musicians being listed here, which sounded somewhat interesting, and without knowing what to expect, I brought it home. And when I arrived, I took the record out of the sleeve and placed it on the turntable and lowered the needle, and nothing was ever the same after that. I still think that Within the Realm of a Dying Sun is probably the greatest record ever recorded in the 20th century, and I know it's an hyperbole to claim that, but well, bear with me. So I've chosen a track called In the Wake of Adversity, and let's have a listen, and after that we can talk a bit. yeah, where to start? Now, the one really fascinating thing about Dead Can Dance is obviously that they have kind of carved out this genre of their own, and this has always troubled people running record stores because where the matter of categorization is important, and it was always hard to pin down this band, so it's been called modern classical and ethereal and fourth world and dark wave, and none of it really works or entirely applies to this project, and that's probably what makes it so interesting. This track here, I love these merciless pizzicatos played on the cellos and the violins. It's pretty daunting. It's one of the great examples of Dead Can Dance, I think. This perfect blend of eerie, dark and mysterious music with this evocation of pure beauty, with the kind of feeling of melancholy and of being somewhat forlorn. Yeah, so it's a very ethereal music, but at the same time with very lyrical messages and very kind of deep thoughts. I think particularly this album here was very important because it kind of marks a transition, or the end of a transition, a moment where this band has entirely overcome any kind of conventional band paradigm, particularly by almost entirely giving up any kind of classical pop or rock instruments and relying entirely on classical or traditional instruments. The entire album is certainly a great example how to properly and effectively appropriate a small orchestra with really optimal results. So yeah, this is a really great album. I mean, Dead Can Dance started in 1981, originally in Melbourne, Australia. Their first album came out in 1984 on the English 4AD label. Dead Can Dance is basically two people, Lisa Gerrard and Brendan Perry. Lisa Gerrard is from Australia, and Brendan Perry is actually a Englishman that I think as a kid mostly grew up in New Zealand and later moved to Melbourne, where those two met. This album here still has Peter Ulrich on drums and percussions, who up until this point in time was somewhat the third member of the band. And obviously there's all kind of musicians mostly playing classical instruments. The album itself has a bit of a conceptual structure where the A-side includes only tracks sung by Brendan Perry, while the B-side has all tracks sung by Lisa Gerrard, which again was an interesting idea. Yeah, the famous photograph here is a tombstone on the famous Père Lachaise graveyard in Paris. And yeah, so this is an interesting album to listen to in the summer, like right now. I mean, it's very hot outside. It's middle of August, and it's pretty sweaty, which you probably can see on camera to my chagrin. But on the other hand, I've always perceived Within the Realms of a Dying Sun as kind of a winter album. This album works beautifully in winter when it's snowing and it's maybe night and you are walking across a city with headphones and listening to this music. Very, very intense musical experience. So I hope you've enjoyed this little excursion into the fascinating, mysterious world of Dead Can Dance. And probably not for the last time, I guess. And yeah, let me know what you think about That Can Dance and how you enjoyed this track here. I don't know if this is the first time you ever heard That Can Dance, or if this is something that you have been listening for a while. I certainly like to know what you think. And yeah, see you next time. And let's see what I will come up next.